welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, I have the pleasure of having some women who have decided to return to the show, and I'm thrilled that they've accepted my invitation. We're going to talk about the Shoreline Playwrights, and Laura Thoma and Terry Mellifogel are my guests today. And ladies, thank you so much for coming back again. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, we need to talk about that you're both playwrights, and so we'll talk about that in a second, but why don't we talk about your background first? Laura, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us about yourself? Take us back.
Absolutely. So I've been in theater most of my life. I started as a dancer. I started dancing when I was 4. I became professional when I was 12 and spent the whole first half of my career as a dancer. First classically trained, then musical theater, and eventually had a career-ending injury that changed my path. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do for a long time. I became a life coach, which I still do and love and enjoy. But then eventually I started writing. I'd always written, but never brought it out into the real world. And I was working on a solo show, so a show that just one actor does. And I had a character appear that would not leave me alone. Her name was Annabelle Jones, and she kept coming after me. So I eventually wrote a play. It took a while and over a period of time, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I had one act of a play, and I was in a group of actors, and I was like, will you guys read this? So they did, and after that, everybody was like, what happens? And I was like, I have no idea. So then I went back and wrote the second act, which was much harder because everybody knew I was writing it. But that's kind of how it all started. And then I fell in love with getting back into theater. I had missed it.
So have you been writing for the theater ever since?
Yes, I haven't stopped. Yes.
You haven't stopped.
Yeah, and I loved theater when I was a dancer. Theater is so special in the sense that there's this collaboration that you don't really find in other mediums in the same way. And leaving it really left a hole for me. And so the minute I found a way back in, I am obsessed with really getting all the way where I want to go into theater again.
And Terry, why don't you take some time and tell us about yourself?
I've always written, even when I was very young, poems, short stories, but my life took me in a different direction. I was in finance for 35 years. Raised a family, and it was great for what I needed to do. But once my youngest graduated, I'm like, I think it's my turn to do what I want to do. And I gravitated toward playwriting. I joined I went to a program at Yale, a writer's workshop, and then I joined an acting troupe because I thought, well, I need to really get into the theater and see what it's all about. And it was a stage reading acting troupe. And that's where I met Laura. And I took my classes through the Dramatists Guild, which was a really fabulous experience. We did another conference together, the Wesleyan Writers Conference, and I've just been plucking away and writing. I had some small successes. There's no such thing as a small success, I know, but some successes. And I'm loving this, and I love the work that we've done in Drama Works, and just really excited about this journey that I'm on.
Now, we've had other playwrights on, but I still like to ask, and both of you can answer this if you'd like, but what is a playwright? You hear about somebody who writes a screenplay, but what does a playwright do, and what is a playwright? Laura, your thoughts?
Sure. A playwright is really somebody who works on the craft of stage. And there's specific things you can do in theater that you can't do in film, and probably vice versa, I'm sure. So playwrights are people who really work with the stage. I mean, that's the short answer.
Your thoughts?
Well, I echo Laura's thoughts, but the interesting thing about writing for the stage is you could write a scene and you could have actors read it, and it could be different every night. Whereas in film, it's not that it's one take, but when it's done, it's done. So sometimes the work that you put out there can be open to a little bit of interpretation depending on the actor that's doing it, which I think is kind of fun.
Shoreline Playwrights, which is one of the reasons why you're here, is to talk about the wonderfulness that you two have brought together to create this entity. Tell us what it's all about. Laura, Terry, what are your thoughts?
Well, we met, and we were both emerging. We are still emerging playwrights, and it's very challenging when you're a middle-aged woman. You know, most emerging programs are designed for people in their 20s, and so we're constantly breaking barriers. So when we met, it was really nice to have somebody else to be like, oh, you're on this journey. And I don't know that we really knew what we were doing when we started.
No.
But we just kind of were like, do you want to do some things together? So we work individually, but we also work as a team. We've produced our own work. We've produced some other playwrights' work as well. And we're constantly, every year, we're kind of like, what do we want to focus on this year? What do we want to do? So it's having just a partner in the field, which is amazing.
It is nice. And it's also good that we're both similar. We're type A. So when we've produced our work, we're very organized, we're very methodical. We enjoy the process. We enjoy the process of producing shows and working with actors. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we're here is that you have something wonderful coming up in June at DramaWorks. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. It's called Fractured Resilience, and it's an evening of 2 one-acts. One written by myself, one written by Terry. And these are plays that we actually did, I think 2 years ago, we were saying at DramaWorks. Yeah, we had stage readings. So that means the actors were reading them with the script at a music stand. And since then, we've worked on them and tightened them up, and now we're doing full productions.
And this is the first time Shoreline Playwrights, because we've done a couple of things at DramaWorks, but they've been shorter pieces. We did our micro shorts, which was 10 5-minute plays, which was a lot of fun. We did fall shorts. This is the first one, this is the first production that is true one act, so they're longer pieces. And I'm very excited for both of our pieces because I think they're really good. Mm-hmm. And I think they have something that they have something to say to people. So that's what I really like about them both.
And I have Ed Wilhelms, the founder of DramaWorks, on often. Mm-hmm. I'm crazy about him, he's wonderful. How is it to be at DramaWorks? Is it a good theater for you?
It's been a great theater. I think the first thing we did with him was Fall Shorts is where it all started. So it was right after coming out of the pandemic. So it's been really lovely to grow with, DramaWorks and to see they're growing and changing and doing different things. So we've really enjoyed it. It's such a beautiful little black box.
It is a little black. And I'm constantly spreading the words because I think, as I mentioned earlier to you, we had a neighborhood block party and I was talking to people, and it's amazing to me how many people still don't know about DramaWorks.
It's true.
So I love to spread the word because they know about the bigger theaters, but he does a lot of very interesting things there. So try to spread the word as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Your calendar, we talked about that before we started taping. What are your thoughts for 2024 and 2025? Do you have other pieces besides what's coming up?
Yes. Well, so together we're doing Miss Margaret's Barton Cottage Christmas Surprise, which is a Christmas play I wrote. A year ago, we gave ourselves the assignment to write Christmas plays. Mm-hmm. And we both wrote a short, and then I went on and expanded mine. And so we're producing that at DramaWorks. I have a play being read in California at the Valley Players, I think. So a play called Heartache Tonight, which is a lovely little short play that's being read. And then otherwise, it's just trying to figure out who we want to collaborate with next.
Yeah, we haven't really looked at our 2025 calendar yet and set goals.
Yeah.
The year, sometimes life in the year just kind of gets away from you with other things.
Sure.
But I don't know what we're going to have in store for you for 2025, but it'll be fabulous.
Now, California, how did that come about? As a playwright, you've written something and submitted it to another part of the country, is that correct?
Absolutely. We have many different places where we go to find submissions, and you just submit. There are usually hundreds and hundreds of submissions a year, and then we're kind of at the end of what we call rejection season right now, where everybody gets all their rejections at the same time, which is always very challenging. But then there are a few yeses in there, so that was one of the yeses. So it's exciting, and I have you submit all year round, so you're constantly getting different, hopefully, offers and different people interested in your work and wanting to hear more.
Now, probably somebody is listening saying, oh my God, I love them and I love their path. But back to this, what happens when they read your work in California and they say, I love it? Do they put it into a play form and perform it out there?
That would be lovely. I would love for them to do that. It depends. Like a lot of times, a lot of theaters really like playwrights to do 10-minute plays because they use them almost as marketing for their theater. So they do 10-minute festivals. So that's what this is in. It's a reading. It probably won't go further than that. But sometimes it opens the door for you. You never know. Sometimes somebody will read a short play and be like, do you have anything else? What do you have? So the goal is, yes, to get full productions eventually on stage.
That is the goal.
That is the goal.
And one of the things I like to do, which you probably might remember, is advice. What about to the audience member that is saying, I am a struggling playwright, I am a playwright looking to move forward, I would love to do what you're doing, but I don't know how to get started. What would your advice be for them to move forward as being a playwright? Terry, what are your thoughts?
There's a lot of organizations that you can join. The Dramatists Guild, the Playwrights Center, which is PWC. There's just a lot of organizations that when you go on, like even the Dramatists Guild, if you go on their websites, they have opportunities, they have classes, they have articles that give you advice. Go to local theater, see what the local theater is doing and what they're playing, and you have to keep plugging away because you have to have a thick skin because we get a lot of rejections. Because there's a lot of work out there, and a lot of times it's I could have 3 people read a piece of mine, and you're going to get three different opinions. So sometimes it's just the luck of the draw who reads your piece and whether they're going to choose it for the festival or the workshop or whatever it may be. So you just have to keep plucking away.
Laura, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think I had a coffee with Jenny Wolfe, who we were talking about earlier. And
Sure.
she said to me once, you have to create your own opportunities. And not that I hadn't heard that before, but I really think as far as advice, that's the best thing. Like, you can never control the outcome. So you have to do the work. You have to love what you do because it's one of those fields where you don't, you don't get the money or the agent or the whatever until you get to a certain level. So you have to love it. And then go out and make connections and partnerships and create your own opportunities in the meantime.
Okay, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
'Tis the season for giving. Did you know that 40% of charitable donations are received during the last few weeks of the year? Unfortunately, there are some Scrooges out there who want to take advantage of those of us in the giving spirit. Watch out for overly emotional appeals or the pressure to give right away. Those are red flags of a scam. A reputable charity will take your donation as much tomorrow as it will today. So make sure to give yourself time to do research. You can start at give.org, the foundation arm of Better Business Bureau, which accredits charities just like BBB accredits businesses. Charities can demonstrate they are trustworthy by agreeing to in-depth evaluations to see if they meet BBB's standards for accountability. Also, be cautious about name confusion. When charities seek support for the same cause, the names can sometimes appear similar. Before you give, be sure you have the exact name of the charity to avoid a case of mistaken identity. To see a list of accredited charities and learn more about the signs of a scam, visit give.org.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. And as always, thanks so much for being here. And as always, I hope you're enjoying the show. ShorelinePlaywrights.com. Let's take a moment and talk about the website. What will the viewer find when they visit it?
Well, go ahead.
Well, Laura created the website, and it's a place where you can find out who we are, what we do, what we've done. We also have a blog so that people we can just put our thoughts down about a process, which we really need to update. We haven't done that in a little bit. But it's fun because you just can talk about the process or what we were doing, which sort of gives you a sense of what's going on with Shoreline Playwrights.
Yeah, we have our bios, so they'll be able to read a little bit more in depth about our backgrounds. We have pictures from previous productions and stage readings and that type of thing.
Actors are probably saying, I want to get involved and audition for you. Would they be able to find that on the website, or how can they contact you?
Absolutely. You can get on our email list on the website, and you can also just email us directly through the website, and we would love all actors to come audition for us.
Yes. There's actually a place on the website and many people have reached out and said, please include us in all your information, that we want to stay on top of you. So we add them so that we send stuff out whenever something new is coming up. But actors, please come to us.
You mentioned theaters be in touch with us, how can they be in, you would like to be in other theaters, maybe like Legacy or different type of theaters that are in our area or even farther away. How do you submit yourself to theaters to be able to produce your work or to work with them?
Well, if you go on to the individual theater, they will tell you, you have to poke around, but you'll find, and there'll be a place where they tell you if they accept submissions and what type. Whether it's some theaters you have to have an agent, and if you don't have an agent, for instance, in Connecticut, I think it's Hartford Stage. If you don't have an agent, but you're a Connecticut resident, you can submit 10 pages of a play just so that they can get a sense of what your play is about. And we also understand that, you know, the artistic directors in these theaters are just bogged down because a lot of these theaters were really hurting after the pandemic. So I'm sure they're all just trying to get back up and running to be able to offer some wonderful new pieces for their audience.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, most of us, the places we go for submissions, as Terry's already said, is the Dramatists Guild, PwC, places like that, and you find these huge lists. You can also stalk the net, which is what I do occasionally, to cold submit. So you're just looking around and seeing. And many places like Hartford Stage, also if like Chicago theaters, if you're a Chicago resident, they allow you to submit if you don't have an agent, which is really nice. That's the most challenging part, is getting through, you know, finding the way in to have somebody read your work. And then.
And I'm hearing the word agent, and probably people are thinking theater and agent don't go together. You think about that in another medium. What does that mean to have an agent?
I don't know. I'd like to. So if you're an agent down there and you would like to represent 2 wonderful new playwrights, give us a call.
Okay, well, so then they would represent you to be able to submit you?
Yeah, usually you don't get an agent in theater as a playwright until you're at a certain level, like where you've had a world premiere and you're getting, people already know about the work and the work is getting some legs on it, because otherwise there's no reason for them to represent you. So they're there to help then get you into all the theaters. All the big major theaters, you cannot submit without an agent. So yeah, it's a process.
It's a process. So then how do you get in front of an agent? Do you submit to them? Do you get your work and invite them to a play? What would be the next step?
Absolutely, you can do it that way. A lot of people who go through MFA programs also, like, agents will come and see their work, but 9 times out of 10, your work gets at a high enough level that they come find you.
I see.
Like, your work is getting good reviews, it's being done in regional theaters, it's being picked up, and then they take an interest in you, because then they know that the world at large is interested in you, and so they have, you know, they can help you from that stage on.
Have either of you ever thought about writing for other mediums besides theater?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I'm doing something that's really in its infancy. I joined, there's a group in Granite Theater in Westerly, Rhode Island, that they are forming like a comedy troupe, and they were looking for writers. And I said, oh, that's something different. I'd like to try my hand. So I submitted something, and they liked my piece. So I've joined them, and we meet once a week, and it's really in its infancy, but it's kind of fun because it's very different, because I tend to write dramas. So then try to, you know, you have to switch and try to write something funny and short, because they have to be like short pieces, but it's fun.
How do you write comedy? What's the difference that you had to switch in your brain and your writing to be able to fit in with them?
Well, as I tell my kids, I think I'm funny. They don't think I'm funny. I really wish I could give you a formula. And it all depends on your type of humor. So Laura may not find my humor funny. But I have to write what I think is funny. I can't write what you think is funny, because the other person may not think it's funny. And I tend to find a lot of humor in everyday life. So that's kind of like where I go to for when I write something that I think is funny.
And Laura, have you thought about doing anything outside of theater?
I have, and I'm working on 2 novels at the moment, and I just finished my first screenplay. So that was really exciting. That came about because I had a play that I loved, but it just wasn't working in that form, and a teacher of mine was like, try it as a screenplay. and I didn't know anything about it, and I took a couple classes, and so I'm on that journey. I just found a mentor and someone to read it and hopefully give me next stage, next steps. So yeah, I like diversifying. I like having multiple projects going at the same time.
Now you said something, a teacher, a mentor, and working as on a screenplay. Is that a process that you would need to do to be able to write a screenplay?
Not necessarily. I mean, some people seem to just write them and pitch them and go, but I really like the one-on-one with teachers. I always like having mentors. It makes me feel more confident and more connected to a process, especially when I don't, like, screenplay is so different than stage. The way, just the formatting of it is so completely different, and it's a visual medium, where stage is, not that it's not a visual medium, but you have to write visually, and whereas in stage you're writing in dialogue. So you're always writing about how people speak, and that creates the visual, where in screen you have to write the visual, which I find much more challenging.
Very challenging.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What are your thoughts of advice to the viewer right now about anything that we've talked about? Moving forward as an artist, I mean, is playwriting really worth anybody's time to pursue?
I think that if you can find something in life that brings you joy, then you should do it. And I know that some people are maybe watching and saying, well, there's financial restrictions, constrictions. You find a way. Because we're not on this earth for all that long, so you might as well do something that you really, really love and value.
What are your
Absolutely.
thoughts?
Well, and I think it's so important nowadays with AI and everything else. It is so important to have your hands, like pen to paper, create your own art, you know, be connected to yourself. And art is a way, it's such a part of self-reflection. It is how we get to know ourselves and how we connect our humanity to other people. So it's such an important, I think, piece.
What I discovered today is all three of us are members of the League of Professional
Yes.
Theater Women, which I am thrilled to be a part of, and I'm very honored to meet the both of you that you are a part of it. Do you feel that being part of an organization would be a way to network?
Absolutely. They have events that you can go and you can chat with people and exchange experiences. And some of them are in different regions, so sometimes they'll have Zoom meetings and you can speak to somebody maybe in California or somewhere else. And it's interesting to find that a lot of us share a lot of the same experiences when it comes to getting our work off the ground. So it's nice to have a community, thank you, a community.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the League is great, and I think any organization that connects you to other people doing what you're doing, and in different ways. Like, obviously, you're a part of the League. We have producers as a part of the League. We have actors as a part of the League. So you're getting to meet people doing all different things in the same, in theater and in the same creative realm, but also a little different, which is helpful. I think the more we learn about each other, the more we grow.
People are also probably saying money. Do you make any money? How do you get your money? Where does the money come from to be able to put your work on the stage?
Well, for me, because I had a career prior to this, and my husband, well, now he's semi-retired, but my husband worked, so I have money set aside. So for a lot of our productions, we will fund things ourselves. We'll get our own props. We'll print the scripts for the actors. And our hope is, as we grow and we work with, other theaters, that they'll provide a lot of those things. And there's also grants. I know that Laura's applied to some of them. There's also grants available to artists to help them on their journey, which is, I think, really important.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think grants are a great way. I think, in this day and age, we have so many things. I know I've helped several other artists fund their projects. They were doing Patreon or Kickstarter or those type of things. So they're crowdsourcing places that you can go if you need that support. And I think all artists like to support each other. So, $25 to somebody else's project, they'll kick it back to you when it's your turn. I think that's a great way. And hopefully the more up you get in the level, you're going to be supported. At the beginning, there is not a lot of money to be made. I don't know that there's ever a lot of money to be made in theater, but there is it. The more you put in, I think the more you get out.
We are starting to run out of time, but you just secured your own space.
Yes.
What's it like having your own, you're not performing there, but you're maybe rehearsing there and writing there and doing things. How is it having your own space?
Amazing.
Fabulous. It's fabulous. It's empowering. We can do, I actually just did a workshop of a full length of mine over 3 days, which is really nice because it's mine. We want to sit there 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I don't have to ask permission. I don't have to check with anybody if the space is, well, other than Laura. And it's ours to use. It's like our own little artist's retreat.
What about your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's an exercise, again, with the create your own opportunities. It's such an exercise of empowering yourself, investing in we decided to invest in ourselves to have that space so that we didn't have to wait on other people to work on our work, that we could do it, together and with other collaborators.
Well, I want to wish you all the best for your June function, and I want to thank you for coming back
Thank you.
and being here with the audience again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. I hope you have a super day today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.